Good morning. What's up? How you doing? Today we're going to try black coffee, gourmet black coffee by Organo. Now the other day I had the cafe latte, but this is the first time I'm trying the black coffee version of the same thing. So, open it up. Nice looking box. I don't know if you get. Let's see what's going on in here. Comes in nice little packets. I love the fact that they have an expiration date. I know by law they have to have something on here telling you when it expires, because you don't want to forget about it, put it on a shelf, and then like 30 years later find it and have it. Time goes by, 30 years will be over before you know it. So anyway, this expires March 2024. I'm going to give it a shot. Give it a little rich. Put it in the cup. Make sure you get it all out. And my cup says trust but verify. And that's true. Trust but verify. Get the hot water here. Give it a little stir. Like to use a spoon. I know you go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts and they have a little stick. That stick doesn't have the area when you spin it to grab all the sugar and mix it well. I mean, eventually sugar will mix anyway because it'll melt, but I want to speed up the process. Go around, reverse, and then back and forth. And I have a little bit of milk here I'm going to add to the coffee. Sometimes I drink it black, but usually I add a little milk. My tea, I always have it without milk. I don't want to say always, but 99.7% of the time, no milk in the tea. Straight tea. Give you my first impression. Smells pretty good. Okay, here's the problem. I could drink it like that, but it doesn't have any sugar in it. So I'm gonna go get some sugar, add it in there, and see what it tastes like with the sugar. I mean, I could drink it like this. It's bitter, tastes okay, but you know, the sugar will make it. I don't put that much. I put a little bit less than a teaspoon. You know, I don't do that. What show was that with a guy? He kept adding and adding and adding sugar. I gotta think about it. It was some episode or something. The Brady Bunch. Mike Brady. I think Mike Brady was doing, there's an episode where he's just adding the sugar in there. Anyway, I'll be right back. I want to add some sugar. All right, I'm back. I added a little bit of sugar, a teeny weeny amount. I'm going to try it now. Much better. It's not your typical flavor, the typical flavor you expect from coffee. That's a little bit different, but it's still good. I mean, I think it's that Ganoderma that they have in here. You could taste a bit of that. Organo Gold. But I recommend it. I highly recommend it because it's got a good flavor. But like I said, don't expect it to taste like the coffee you're used to. This is a little bit different. Remember watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood when I was a kid. And I know I've said this before, but I thought that when he would enter, you know, singing his little tune, when he would enter his house, I thought that was his second house that he had, like kind of a secret house away from his wife. So when he would get into it with his wife, he would go to this house and hang out for a couple of hours, cool down, and then go back home. Because it was like, where's this guy always go? And then he comes back. Always had a project. But I loved that show when I was a kid. I'd watch it on weekdays. It was on early on PBS Channel 2, but I would watch it after school. It was on at around 5 o'clock after school. Get home, kick back a little bit, and then Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Had that speedy delivery guy, Mr. McFeely. But for me, it was a cool show. But like I said, I thought it was this home away from home. And my favorite part was the opening credits, when the camera would zoom over the little miniature neighborhood. And I thought that was a cool little neighborhood. Quiet, peaceful neighborhood. And then he would show up, swing the door open, and start singing. Put on his cardigan. Change his shoes. I don't even know why he changed his shoes. Just keep your shoes on. It's the point. You put on sneakers and walk around the house. Either that or put a pair of slippers on or something. Or just walk around in your socks or barefoot. But that was a cool show. And then the Neighborhood of Make-Believe. When I was a kid, I had a dream that I found Mr. Rogers' house and I got in there. He wasn't home. And I started messing around with everything. The trolley had the buttons down by the that little sofa, or that whatever that was, bench. And I brought the trolley in, and then I sent the trolley to the Neighborhood of Make-Believe, and I got on the tracks and I crawled all the way to the neighborhood. And I was able to go in the King Friday's statue, the castle, and check it out inside. It was huge inside of my dream. And I went to Lady Elaine Fairchild's museum, go around, just explored the whole place in my dream. And then I went back and messed around in the kitchen. Loved that little kitchen he had. And he never wasted water. Mr. Rogers would, you know, go to the sink, and immediately he would put whatever he had, a container, whatever, and open up the water and grab all the water. I let the water run a little bit, at least 15 seconds, and then I you know, I don't drink from the sink. I get filtered water, but he didn't waste a drop. So anyway, and then in the back, so you had the kitchen, and there was a side door. That was where he had his sandbox. And a few episodes he went out there and he played with the sand. Then he had the fish, walk by the fish, he would put a little food in there. And they always had a little piano noise. And the flakes of food would float down. Fish would eat all that. And they had that traffic light, and then picture which made no sense. Picture. He would take a film reel, open up the side there, and just put it in there, and then it would start playing. So I don't know how that worked, but just by putting the film flat on the surface, it would play on the screen. And he always had these little educational things, like he would go to a factory or something, and you'd see the progress at that factory. But yeah, it was a cool show. And a few times Officer Clemens would show up. Guy would sing, do a little tune. I like that Chef Brockett, I think. So Fred Rogers would leave his house, and then they'd play that little music, and then they'd show the miniature neighborhood, and then he would end up at some neighbor's place, Chef Brockett. He would show up there, and then there was another guy who was like a music teacher. What's that guy's name? Think of that guy's name. But anyway, he played guitar, I think. But he would also show up in the neighborhood of Make Believe. I don't think that show would be popular today. Kids have a different mentality, different interests. They would find that show a little bit creepy, maybe, and boring. But kids of my generation, people of my generation, they grew up on that stuff. Of course, the Electric Company. I love the Electric Company. Lady would scream, "Hey, you guys," and then it would start. That was a cool show. Sesame Street, good show. But Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he had a phone too. He'd call somebody up. He'd sit on that couch on the side there, get the phone and dial it up. It was one of those phones where the buttons were on the handheld side. And then he would say, "Hi, Fred." He would say Fred is his name. I'll say that his name is Fred. So that's it. It was a good show. But like I said, I didn't think he lived there. I thought that was his home away from home. Like he had a wife, a family, and then he bought this house secretly. So it was like his getaway from his other home, and then he'd spend maybe an hour or two hanging out at this secret home, and then he would go back. But I even liked the tune at the beginning. It was a nice little tune. They should have had a little fake Mr. Rogers walking, a little miniature claymation. They didn't have that. They would always say that Sears Roebuck donated money, and I think McDonald's too. But Sears and Roebuck. Yeah, I knew somebody who worked in Sears in the 1930s. They're not around anymore, but they worked there, and they never said Sears. They always said Sears and Roebuck. My generation just said Sears, chopped it down to Sears, but older people always said Sears and Roebuck. Can't forget Roebuck. Roebuck was very important. If you read the history of the Sears Corporation, Sears and Roebuck was very important. I feel bad with what is going on with Sears now. It's like disappearing. Who would have thought that 30, 40 years ago? Sears was like a powerhouse company. But if Woolworths can disappear, the 5 and 10, 5 and dime, then Sears also. Times change. Everything has a lifespan, a certain amount of years. You see all these companies now, eventually they will disappear. Can you imagine Lowe's still around in 200 years? I don't think so. Home Depot, no. So, pretty good. Has a bit of a flavor that's unusual to coffee, but it's nothing that, you know, should turn you off to this. Once again, trust but verify. Trust but verify.